David J. Murphy with Around the Lens. I'm here at Focus on the Story 2019 talking to the executive director of the event, Mr. Joe Newman. Joe, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Happy to have you here. Happy to be here for this event. Now, this is the second year that you've done this event?
Yeah, this is our second year. We started last year and decided to do it another year. I have no idea if we can do it a third year, but it's been a lot of fun both years, and I sure hope we can.
So what was the impetus to start Focus on the Story last year?
It's about the community, the photography community here in D.C. I've been involved in starting and creating a community over the last 8 years, and we just wanted to have something for the people who are here in D.C. to have some workshops, some talks, get together and really talk about storytelling, visual storytelling.
And you said it started out as a blog before for this, right?
Yeah, Focus on the Story was a blog. I wanted to actually I'm a former journalist, and I have also done some public relations. And I thought, I'm going to have a blog called Focus on the Story, and that'll be my blog to show clients that it's a storytelling. I want to do storytelling, and some of the things I did, I wrote some pieces on there about storytelling, critiquing certain photos, and then getting some interviews with photographers. But it really has moved well past that into really what is now a nonprofit. We created a nonprofit last year, so it's gone. That where we started, it's way on a different level at this point.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned you had some pretty big names last year. Who were those folks you had come out, and who do you have this year?
Yeah, so last year, big learning curve. I've never done anything like this before. I've never organized a conference or a festival. And we kind of lucked into our lineup. We had some of the biggest names in photography: Martin Parr, Dwayne Michaels, Maggie Stieber, Joel Peter Witkin. If you have a list of the 100 most influential photographers of all time, 3 of those people are a lock. And we had a couple others too that I haven't even mentioned. And it was lucky because it came about because so and so knew Martin Parr, so and so knew Maggie, and we just kind of were happy to get them. And when they said yes, we were like, oh wow, how's this happening? This year we were much more deliberate. We created the nonprofit to our mission is to support visual storytelling that has a social impact, that shines a light on critical issues, and that bridges cultural divides. And so we were very deliberate. Not that the photographers I mentioned, and Maggie is awesome, and Martin is awesome, not that they don't also do that, but this year we really concentrated on putting together a lineup that sort of met our mission and sort of told people about the importance of visual storytelling, and that it's more than just telling a story, it's about having an impact.
How would you feel that this event is this year compared to last year, and where do you see the event going in the future?
Yeah, it is. To me, it's both were amazing experiences. And when people stop me in the hallway and they tell me this was life altering, or it really opened their eyes, and that makes all the work, the preparation, worth it. I mean, it's a lot of work. We're volunteer staff. Everyone that puts this together has a day job, and so it's hard to do. And whether we can continue it, it's going to depend on being able to get out in the community, maybe getting some grants.
Mm-hmm.
We have I think our registration was $225 this year.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I would love to do it for free.
Yeah.
And I would love to get the sponsors in and open it up to just anybody who wants to come in. And so we're working on the models and seeing how we can do it. And if we can do it for a third year, it's going to be terrific. I will we'll approach it the same way, but we may the format may change. There's everything evolves. But we hope that I hope that it continues. I'm too invested in this to want to see it end.
Yeah.
But the reality is there's a lot of moving parts. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, for the most part, people who are watching this will probably be after the event is over. So, describe for me kind of the structure that you kind of structured your conference. How you structured it, and how why you chose that structure, and how you would see kind of envisioning structuring it in the future. For those people who might be interested in this and want to come to it next year, if you're able to have it.
Well, I went to some festivals and conferences prior to this, and one of them that I went to was in Dubai, Gulf Plus Photo, and what struck me there was how it was the same. There were people there that had gone there 5, 6, 7 years in a row. I said, who would do that to this? And one of the things they did was they kept some of the same people coming back.
Yeah.
You know, they have these 3 or 4 people that are there every year, and they typically tell you that's like not what you do when you do a festival. You bring new people in because people don't want to see the same people. So I said, well, why is that happening? It's because of their community. They're creating something, and it doesn't become so much a festival or a conference. It becomes a place where you reconnect. And so, you know, we brought back Carl Yost from the Miami Herald, great photographer.
Yeah, yeah.
We brought back Ziza. We brought back Andre Chung. You know, and I would love to bring everybody back, but you know, they may not speak this year. Carl became our festival chairman. You know, they may have different roles, but I would like them to do workshops. I would like people to sort of like, yeah, you know, not. It doesn't matter if I see this person again because we're community. And what makes it special is that these great photographers, these big names in the industry, they're out here in the hallway, and you just run into them and you have a conversation with them, and they're very approachable, you know. And that's the kind of people we want. We want these very talented photographers who are also, you know, you can talk to on a human level.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh wow, you know, Andrea Bruce just spoke, and it's like, you know, I'm sure she's out there right now answering questions and talking to people. Lucian Perkins was here yesterday, gave an amazing talk, and he's back in the audience today. You know, and that's one of the things I'm really looking for is how to maintain sort of that intimacy that you create, and that, you know, whatever we do, we want to keep it intimate. I mean, I really struggle with and I love, you know, getting sponsors, and I want more sponsors, but I wouldn't want to say, hey, X brand, bring a speaker in, you know, because that way I'm not paying for the travel, I'm not paying for the for you know, the speaker, and that helps us become sustainable, but then I lose control of my messaging. Right. So there's got to be a way to do it. So we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's like social justice, social justice, social justice. Buy this new camera.
Yeah.
Buy this new program, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And did you have success? You know, I mean, you said you've been in the journalism industry before this, so you'd probably made these connections ahead of time, right? I mean, I have to assume you had some connections that helped you, you know, leverage and kind of build the initial kind of baseline of your speakers, right?
Yes and no. I mean, I was a journalist for many years. Andrea Bruce and I actually worked at the same newspaper, but didn't know each other because we kind of passed. But I was a reporter. I wasn't a photographer. Right. And so I had a lot of contacts, but most of the people I've met have been through, you know, just calling them up, cold calling, and, and just, you know. But it helps. It helps that last year when we got Martin Parr as our first speaker, it opened up a lot of doors, and each door that opens up makes a new connection. I went to Photoville last year just to meet people and just to talk to them, but once we put together such a great lineup last year, it makes it easier for when I reach out to people this year, and I'm saying, well, you know, they don't know me, they haven't heard of our festival, but I tell them who was here last year, it helps. Next year, when I tell them who was here this year and who was here the year before, you know, it gives you that credibility. So, you know, they don't know me from Adam, and, you know, who cares, but...
Adam, great guy, by the way. Great guy.
But they will, but, you know, it opens the door. So hopefully it continues to snowball, that we'll build these relationships and continue to meet people. You know, now, you know, the speakers who are here, I feel comfortable that I can call them next year. You know, and I use connections. I've called people that are in the industry who I've met through this, and I'll say, you know, who can we have? You know, who do you recommend? Like last year we had 3 or 4 men Martin Parr, Dwayne Michaels, Brian Griffin, who are great photographers, but they all fit a certain demographic. And this year I said, you know what? I'm not going to bring anybody in except until I have like 3 really great women at the top of my lineup. And you know, we got Andrea, we got Kathy Vargas, we got Sharon Farmer. You know, so it's a commitment. It doesn't happen accidentally. You have to sort of, you know, be deliberate about what kind of program you want to put together.
Are there any other, well, 2 questions. So one, do you see this this is always staying in the D.C. area, and two, are there any other similar or like other photo workshop things that you would recommend for folks, again, until yours is up next year? What can they do in the meantime?
Good question. I've thought about this because part of being sustainable is to be able to bring people back. And if you're going 3-4 years in D.C., it's a great city, but you only have a limited travel budget. Are you really going to go to D.C. for 3 years in a row? So I have to expand our reach if we stay in D.C. But there's nothing that says I couldn't. So that's one of the things we're going to look at is, is it a model that goes and moves around? Yeah. So we're gonna look at that. It is, it's really we're just going to get in the laboratory after this weekend and just figure out, how do we make it sustainable? Yeah. Where can we get some funding? Where can we find people that, like what we're doing, respect what we're doing, and want to support us? I mean, these things are expensive and time consuming, and being volunteers is almost impossible to do. Yeah. But we did it, and I'm going to try to do it again next year, and I just join. People get on our mailing list; they can keep up with us. Sort of see what we're about, and we're really honestly and truly about storytelling. I mean, it's just such an important part of our world, and not just photography. And that's mostly 95% of what we do is here, and the speakers are all still photographers. Right, yeah. But we do need to look at the other means of communicating with video, with podcasting. So there may be some development in terms of what we add as far as trying to be all-encompassing storytelling. There's other ways to still tell stories on social media now that are being developed and being fine-tuned.
Yeah, I know. I mean, multimedia is huge. Video is huge. I mean, we focus a lot on visual journalism, for our show, and that includes not just photojournalism, photography, but also filmmaking and documentary filmmaking and broadcasting and all that, because what is it? The statistics are like 95% of people absorb most of their media through video nowadays. It's the age of newspapers and magazines are over. You have to get used to the new world order. But I don't think there'll ever be a time when people don't appreciate or want photographs, because, I mean, that's a unique way to tell a story. Obviously this is, a great learning experience. Do you ever want this to be something like, have you been to the Photo Plus Expo in New York City?
I have.
Do you want, could you, like, in your wildest dream, do you want this to be like that? Like huge and gigantic and part trade show, part education session, or would you prefer it being something, like you said, small, organized, you can sort of direct the sort of theme and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want, to be able to rent out a convention hall and do that? In terms of being sustainable, that would help, but you lose intimacy. Can you take that model and still have it where people get to know each other and get to, so it's I'm not going to say that I wouldn't want a convention hall, but that'll if that grows and that's how we develop, fine, but it's going to evolve. I think it's there are festivals in Europe that are sustainable and that are not big photo pluses, and that they're models. What they're doing in Miami with the Miami Street Photography Festival, what they're doing in in Photoville, starting to become a big thing as well. But you lose when you have those types of with thousands of people that are showing up. You do lose some of the connections that you make in a small. 200 people here this weekend, maybe. Right. That's intimate, and so to me, I think it's we're a nonprofit, so we're not trying to make we can't really make huge profits. Right. But we do want we do need to find a sustainable model. Sure. And that's the key.
I think that's a great initiative to be get bigger over time, but still keeping that intimacy. Like the larger shows are great, but then you have 6 different conferences running at the same time. So you're like, oh no, I got to pick one or the other. Yeah. And here it's, it's great. You got one after another. I mean, obviously you have this side room, which is great. And, I wish you all the best of luck. And I hope, you're able to expand this and bring in tons of great more people. I know you will. you got a great platform here.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you coming here, and I hope you enjoyed the weekend, the shows.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, I've thought about something like this. And my kind of pie in the sky dreams would be to have my own sort of convention. But where I was at in like Mississippi, and where I think you have the advantage here is being in a major metropolitan area. You definitely have that wide breadth of talent and great talented. We've interviewed many people on our show who work and live in the D.C. area. So I mean, having that metropolitan connection, I think, is great. Because if I did something like Biloxi, Mississippi, I'd have to fly in people from all over, the United States to get over there. There's not a huge visual journalism community there. New Orleans, I know New Orleans has a photo conference and stuff like that because they're a relatively big city. But that's something for me. That's from my perspective, you guys are doing things that I wish I could do someday. So I see you all as sort of an inspiration to me. So think of it like that. So thank you for doing what you guys are doing and inviting me out here. I really appreciate that.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
No, just we're at focusonthestory.org. Get on our mailing list and keep up with next year's plans. I want input. If I get a lot of emails from people that say you really need this person on your show.
Yeah.
And I it opens my eyes. Maggie Stieber wrote me an email 3-4 weeks ago and put me on to photographer. It was too late. My lineup was set, but I was like blown away.
Okay.
And so that's what we're doing. It may not be the biggest name sometimes, but the names of people that you really should be keeping an eye on and people you'll be hearing about.
Yeah. No, I mean, as long as they're doing something significant and they have something that's meaningful to the participants, then it doesn't matter, I think, if I know these people or not. I don't know half the people here, so it's like, but they have great stories and something interesting to say. So again,
Awesome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Joe.
Thank you.
And I hope to see you out here next year.
Hey, I hope you come back.
All right, I will be here.